Hello and welcome back to the round
Hold on.
table. What?
Hold on. I'm still not able to be in the window.
What do you mean you're not in the... Oh!
The host is looking at something else.
So, yeah, there we go. Now you should see something.
All right.
Now we see something! Hello!
Hello, greetings.
Ugh, damn it, I wanted to go to something that I hear at the Game Grumps again. God damn it.
They're your idols.
Well, kind of yes and no. Sometimes they are just too over the top and sometimes they're absolutely great.
Yeah, well.
Oh, it was
I
something
guess-
about this. Hello, welcome back to
Hello.
an adventure. But it was something with Shovel Knight, but I can't remember the exact lines anymore.
It was something like, hello. Infinidagger returns.
Oh, it's another Infinite Dagger adventure. Is what it was. How
What
fitting
luck.
because of the stabbing of someone.
Yes. Well, are we starting over or are we keeping this
No,
up?
we're keeping this in. Screw
Okay,
it.
if you say so. Well, please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jaw was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jaw flying? That would have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall? Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture once more. If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jaw was sitting on, what would he have hit?
No!
The suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous looking sword. It's not a sword. I don't think it is a sword. Yes.
It's a spear.
And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to have been Neil Marshall wielding the King of Prosecutors trophy.
No, Mr. White, you can't be thinking.
Yes, there is another possibility of what actually transpired in that room. Another possibility? Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless. I don't know if I can go through with this. Mr. Wright, what's the matter?
If events took place as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Skye knocked away was actually prosecutor Neil Marshall.
Oh.
You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No! I never imagined her testimony would lead to this.
So it was the witness who took the victim's life. Also, ambulance, somebody bring her out. And then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented.
I thought you were detained. What are you saying?
I'm sorry, Miss Skye, but given the circumstances...
Joe Doug murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out about what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall?
Evidence?
I'm willing to bet you don't.
Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence.
If we don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead.
We certainly can't get dead people to testify.
Or can we?
Oh, can we? This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning.
Touché, Miss Sky. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility.
You mean there's still another possibility? What do you mean, Mr. Ashworth?
I mean the possibility that the victim has left us a message. For better or for worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life. In one manner or another. That's impossible!
Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased. Does such a message exist? I've got to think back to the court record. The real murderer's name that the victim may have left behind might be in that vase. This message from the deceased is already in our possession.
Mr. White! Will you stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer? Do not be mistaken, Miss Sky. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There's only one thing we seek. The truth. To find the truth, no matter how painful it may be.
Now then, Mr. Wright, please show us the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the dead. I guess maybe the writers in this particular arc just felt like they had to write out Mia and Maya because they would be too overpowered. But this is the only thing that comes to mind.
The problem is, how would anyone have written on it if it was already shattered? I mean, it shattered the moment he was pushed. So how was it possible to still write on it on the pieces?
That I'm not sure of. It was broken, so it was presumably on the floor, which will mean that, yeah, perhaps.
And if it was on the floor, it seems like he hang on that statue. How would he have written that when it was on the floor and he hang there and couldn't write anything?
It would imply that he was still alive when Lana Sky took him down?
They also said the body was moved after his death. So I think he was still stabbed, it just hung there.
He was supposedly not instantly dead, but no, I'm confused.
Wait, does the autopsy report say he was still stabbed in the back, died from puncture at heart and lung?
Single stab wound piercing heart and lung. Died from blood loss in under 10 minutes. Weapon found in wound was missing tip, and that's what presumably either Lana Sky or Gant would have put there. But it's one of those things where I only have so much evidence to.
Yeah, but for now it's the vase. Let's just go on.
Yeah, I don't know how, but I can't say anything else comes to mind. This is the message left by the deceased. This is that blue badger from before, right?
Oh, is he going to just speak the killer's name? If that thing could, I'm sure it would.
It's a snitch. Looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. A message was left here, on the surface of this jar. What do you mean? If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar.
It looks like someone wiped the blood away.
Yes, but notice, for some reason, the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away. Yes, there is a line here, drawn in blood.
So what you're saying is these dots were once lines.
Oh, we gotta connect them.
Connect the dots.
Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message.
One that someone apparently wiped away. But blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed direction.
Precisely so. All we need to do is connect these points, and the victim's message will become apparent.
No! Yes!
Mr. Wright, what kind of message did the victim leave for us? Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal to us the answer. I've got to connect these dots to make letters. There's only one thing the victim would have written, given the circumstances. His murderous name. Or would he have? Okay.
Have fun.
Whoop. Sweep. Okay, this. Come on. Come on now. Come on now. Sweep. And let's see. No, no. That was wrong. Backspace. That. Or is this it? Ma. Oh, now I see it. Oh, wait.
Maybe you can, and that's just it?
It would appear so. I'm still questioning why Marshall would write her name and not protect her.
Yeah,
so to speak,
exactly.
the same way
Why would he
everyone
write
else.
her name? Makes no sense.
So it might have been someone else even here? Or things are even more confusing.
Yeah, well, that direction is very possible.
It's a defense attorney's duty to prove their client's innocence.
But it's not your client currently anymore.
Yeah, so we're simply protecting the truth. That's why all I've been thinking about is saving Lana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma.
So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind. Nope.
And then there's... Yeah, there is also the question of what Joe Dark did after Neil Marshall was accidentally killed in that case.
Yeah, how was he taken out? And
Of
didn't
all
kill
people.
Emma.
Yes. Of all people. She may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life was Emma Skye.
Oh, so we think right now.
Shock of all shocks.
Seaworthy, can't say I didn't warn you. Chief Gant. Do you understand the implications of what you've done? What? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Joe Dog was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in the case, were you not? Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction.
But Joe Dark really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable.
I'm afraid that's not important.
Yeah, I'm still wondering about that.
Why wouldn't it be important? Didn't you know we aren't defenders of justice?
Are we not? What?
We are merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Even if there wasn't any cover-up or evidence forgery. Ultimately, the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied.
Oh, a really loud...
What's going on at the prosecutor's office? They might have sent an innocent man to his death. How can he just stand there like it wasn't his fault?
Order! 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 Order!
Oh, you wanted a line too, Zoe. I thought the lines that go by fast without you doing should be...
Nah, it's fine. I was just joining the rabble. The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. So the judge started literally pounding their ears with the gavel. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess.
Everyone take a nap right now.
Where this trial is headed, no one knows. To be continued.
Right now, again. Damn it, we could have just made 70 more minutes and we would have this point.
Nah, that's fine, that's fine. It's all arbitrary checkpoints anyway.
Yeah, but they have such a nice closure to it.
Yeah, but you got a nice segue last time.
Huh?
Sorry, Edgeworth. I didn't mean to get you in trouble.
Don't worry about it. This is my problem, not yours.
Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, yes I am. I'll come back later. Adios. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? Hey, I knew you couldn't say no to me. You got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. I take it Lana's having you run errands again. Didn't he say that last time? Let me tell you, this is the last time, pal. Here, she asked me to give you this to you. She asked me to give this to you if there was a break in today's trial. Evidence law? Edgeworth was talking about this just the other day.
Oh, you must know the 2 rules of evidence law that we just pulled out of our asses. Rule number 1, no evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Is that right, Mr. White?
It seems so.
You could at least study some evidence law, really.
Me study? The chief prosecutor also wanted me to give you a message. A message? She said, if you're planning to take him on, you're going to need this book. Him? I guess I'll need to give this book a thorough read. Evidence law. Securely slipped into pocket. And apparently it's an entire book that only explains 2 rules.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Doesn't look like that book'll do any good now, though. All that's left now is the chief prosecutor's sentence. That's where you're wrong, detective. Hey?
Haven't you figured it out yet? Why I'm still sitting in that prosecutor's seat, despite all these allegations being thrown at me.
Mr. Edgeworth?
The real trial today hasn't begun yet.
Oh, what? What else is there left to do? Your credibility's been all but ruined with this forged evidence you are unaware of. EVGA found that she unwittingly caused a man's death. And now, you're telling me you want to do more? You've got to be kidding me, pal. You're missing the point, detective. Lana didn't murder Detective Goodman. She merely stuck a knife into his dead body. That means the real killer is still out there. Wait! And we're going to expose him, no matter what it takes. This case has hurt too many people. It's time to bring it to an end. Where's the killer? I'll arrest him.
Oh boy. Oh, they still let people in here?
Well, now that everyone has gotten refreshments, court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Skye.
Oh, I would like to have some cookie.
I'd like some popcorn. Mr. Edgeworth,
Yes, Your Honor.
the inquiry committee is planning to impose harsh penalties for your actions.
Thank you for the news, Your Honor.
Yes, well, normally this is where the prosecution calls forth a witness. But, this isn't easy to say. You say there is some concern that you, Mr. Edgeworth, may have,
Struck a bargain? You think I may have manipulated the witnesses?
I didn't say that. It's just, you say everyone's been talking and,
Very well, Your Honor. I have a solution.
a solution?
That being the case, the prosecution will allow the defense to call forth all further witnesses.
Oh, what? But there's no precedent for what you're proposing.
Undeniably, this is an unusual arrangement, but a very effective one. It would prove that I haven't struck any deals with the witnesses.
Well, Mr. Wright, what do you say?
That doesn't necessarily prove that in any way, but...
No, it's just a bit of good faith. Unbelievable. Edgeworth has found a way to continue the trial. Through bullshit. Through bull tube. Very well. The defense accepts the prosecution proposal. Then it's settled. The defense may now call forth the next witness.
Mr. White, you do realize this is your last chance? If you call the wrong witness, this trial is as good as over. Oh, we should save.
I suppose so.
Double saving.
What's the likelihood that it'll be the wrong one?
Ooh, I mean... No, double save. Save double.
But why?
We definitely will need it.
Okay. Because it's that difficult.
This
The
is
defense
getting tricky.
Oh boy. The time's finally come to bring out the real murderer. Detective Gameshoe. I'm definitely leaning towards Damon to get him to talk. And why is Bruce Goodman even on this list?
Those are all involved in the SL9 incident, except for Meekins. He is just involved.
Yeah, but still, how would I... If I chose this guy, would I call Bruce Goodman to the stand?
Then they would probably just call you an idiot.
Yeah, that's weird. And they'll star... Witness to the murder.
I mean, why wouldn't you choose Gantz?
Well, I'm just being cautious. Simply because I'm always, I don't know, skeptical, I guess. Damon Gant. The defense calls Damon Gant to the stand. Damon Gant? What does he have to do with anything? As the defendant's partner 2 years ago, Mr. Gant has first-hand knowledge of the crime. I feel we should hear what he has to say about it.
As luck would have it, he should still be in the courthouse. He would also be the least likely to have been manipulated by me in any way. Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor?
True. All right, bailiff, please escort Mr. Gant to the stand.
Witness, please state your name and occupation. What is this? Some kind of practical joke? I was just on my way to lunch. Your name and occupation, sir. Worthy, are you sure you want to do this? Your name and occupation. So, you want to play hardball, eh?
Please, Mr. Gant.
Fine.
Not the hardball.
My name is Damon Gant. I'm the acting chief of police.
Now then, Chief Gant, the court requests to hear your testimony.
Oh, Ido, what's with the grim face?
First, let's clear up this SL9 incident.
Oh, you mean that time when Lana's sister murdered the prosecutor? Personally, I think it's been made pretty clear already.
There are still some things unaccounted for.
Oh, like what?
Like the role you played in all of this.
Son, either you're very brave or very foolish. Like a foolish fool. You are aware,
Fool
of
of a
course.
took. Fool of a took.
You are aware, of course, that the police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal.
Weapons?
Sure, take my testimony for example. I don't have to give it if I don't want to.
What? Is that true? I'm afraid so. The chief of police has the right to refuse to testify.
Of course, such an action carries with it certain risks. Don't worry, I'm not here to hinder your trial. Just remember, if this turns out to be a big waste of time, don't say I didn't warn you.
Very well. The witness may now begin his testimony. Just a moment though, I want to read these first so I know what to look for. Rule number 1, no evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. And rule number 2, unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. And that's apparently it.
But the second one is very important.
I suppose so. It is always.
As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day, and we didn't lock the door. To make a long story short, we slipped up. That power outage didn't help either. It was an electronic lock. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently, she had already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery.
Is that when Doc was arrested?
Him? He was lying on the floor unconscious. When Emma sent Neil flying, it seems Doc bumped his head.
Say, everything seems pretty clear cut. If the police chief has the right to refuse to testify, then I'd better hit him hard and fast. Coming right at you.
Can't refuse if you doesn't have a chance to with whatever.
Yes. Yes. Now tell me about the questioning. As I recall, a ceremony was held at the police department that day.
Yes, that's right. I guess you could say I'm a workaholic. After winning his award, Neil was all fired up too. That's probably what spooked Doc and made him run away like that. Was the defendant, Lana Skye, also present in the room? I don't quite remember. At the very least, she wasn't there when Doc went for it.
We oopsed. So the two of you ran immediately after him, right?
That's right, but Doc made it to the elevator first. So Neil and I split up. He went upstairs and I went downstairs. I guess you could say he got lucky. What's this about a power outage? Oh, that? The elevator stopped all of a sudden and I got the shock of my life. Well, probably not as shocked as Neil was when that knife went into his heart, though.
That's not funny. Not cool, man. And found Lana? Could you tell us what you saw?
It was a shocking sight. Neil and that serial killer were lying in a heap on the floor, all tangled together. Dark was sorry.
Dark was also lying collapsed on the floor.
Yes, apparently he hit his head and was knocked out. Next to them were those two poor girls.
Lana and Emma.
Lana was cradling Emma in her arms. Looking back at it now, she must have already known what her sister had done.
Already arranged it? How can you know that?
Well, because of the victim's body, it had already been moved. So that means you found the body near Lana's desk? That's right. I think you said earlier. It was my suit of armor that really stabbed the prosecutor.
So in other words, it's actually the armor that's guilty. Yes.
Anyway, as you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery, and I already said that. God damn it.
So you're saying that the forgery had already taken place by the time you arrived at your office?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I can understand how Lana must have felt. But moving a body and hiding evidence are inexcusable, no matter what the circumstances.
Is that how it really went down?
Staring at the witness won't do you any good, Mr. White.
I'm not staring. You're staring.
If you're going to stare at anything, you'd better off staring at the court record. Worthy, always a smooth talker.
But which piece of evidence ties Gant to the forgery? Lana did admit to forging evidence, but that can't be the whole truth. Somehow I've got to link Gant to the evidence, to incident.
I mean, he hid half of the evidence.
Yes, indeed. I went to the office, she had already arranged. Nothing to do with the forgery, and
There.
it's either the piece of cloth or possibly the vase.
What? Oh, yeah.
Since the piece of the vase was also found in that same
And one half
Ball.
of the evidence.
Okay, so now we have three
Half of this
possible-
list was found in Gant's desk. I would say we go with that.
I suppose. You claim you had nothing to do with forgery. But I'm afraid that is a claim you cannot back up.
Explain yourself.
Several pieces of evidence were found in your office. Take this list, for example. That's the list Emma Sky drew her picture on. This was discovered in your desk. Not only that, but a piece of this jar that was sitting in your office was found inside your safe. It was found where? You see, Chief Gant, these articles of evidence uncovered in your office are both concrete proof that you also played a part in the illegal investigation. Chief Gant, what's the meaning of this?
Oh. Here's a defense attorney who may even rival Worthy.
So you admit to it then, that you were involved in the forgery?
Who, me? Or do you mean you?
Me? Why would I have anything to do with that?
Well, you were the one who snuck into my office when you found this evidence. Prosecutors aren't the only ones capable of forging evidence, you know. Defense attorneys can do so too. Isn't that right, Rido? However, Detective Gumshoe was present during the investigation. Worthy, my boy. Not even detectives are exempt from the law. Rest assured, Dick will receive his due punishment.
Oh no. What? If Detective Gumshoe's salary drops any further, he'll end up paying to work. There's no coup. Yes, well, in light of the detective's presence, please give us your testimony regarding these pieces of evidence found in your office, and their relation to the forgery that took place at the crime scene.
My. Kids these days no longer know how to put two and two together. It's 5, right?
Oh, you silly Billy.
Let's see, what was it now? A jaw fragment and a list? For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. Anyway, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. If they were found after Dark was convicted, then they are worthless. There's no reason I participate in a forgery. Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way.
Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor? When investigating the crime scene, you should have been more careful to observe protocol.
You do understand that I'm the chief of police, right? There will be consequences.
Oh.
Indeed, I believe I will press charges, so you won't make the same mistake again.
My apologies, Chief, but would you mind waiting until tomorrow for that? Today is, well, you know.
Oh, wait, Uji. In return, though.
I know. That place, right?
The strip club.
Oh, yes. Huh? What are these guys?
Check that evidence.
Now then.
Oh boy.
It's
It's the final boss.
The big boss.
Nah, that's Metal Gear.
Yes. The whatever boss. It was
Why are
found
they worthless when they are found after it was convicted?
You can't prove when these pieces of evidence were discovered.
Hey, isn't there a date on it? Oh no, he meant... Okay, whatever.
He's simply saying that because it was me, I guess. What do you mean by that?
This is all purely hypothetical, of course. But suppose I did place those items in my safe. Such an act wouldn't necessarily constitute forgery.
If concealing evidence found at a crime scene isn't forgery.
I'm not through speaking yet, Wido. It all depends on when the evidence was discovered.
Oh, after the conviction, when he was already given the guilty verdicts, I guess. Are you saying this jaw fragment wasn't discovered in the initial investigation?
It would appear not. After all, it wasn't listed in the evidence list. For all we know, it could have suddenly materialized the day after Dark was sentenced.
That is clear malarkey. Oh, and wouldn't that be convenient?
Right. The chief is talking about a possibility, so long as you can't rule that out. Your remarks, however clever they may be, will only succeed in wasting time.
Tell me something I don't know.
Come on now, Wido. Think about it.
Use the old noodle. No reason. And that is uncertain of why he would participate in it.
I mean, he actually benefited from the conviction and came to his position because of it. Because Joe Dark was convicted.
I don't entirely remember that, and I'm not sure if we have evidence that says that.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, that's the problem. I don't know how the evidence helps with that.
Unless he says something. How can you look me in the eye and say that?
Because I'm innocent. Remember? Who was it that murdered Neil?
I'm not sure I care for the word murder here. But in the end, the person responsible for Mr. Marshall's unfortunate demise was Emma Skye.
Well, now do you see?
Wouldn't help you out. Really, Chief Gant? At the very least, there is one very large benefit you've reaped from all this.
Oh, I wasn't aware. What is this benefit?
That would of course be the position you have, Chief of Police. Or the resolution of the SL9 incident secured your promotion to Chief. That in itself is sufficient motive.
Oh, that's a good one.
Huh?
Do you really think I'm that incompetent?
What do you mean?
Even without that case, I was already in line to become the next chief. The resolution of SL9 merely sped up the inevitable a little.
Is that true, Edgeworth?
Yes. He was going to be made chief anyway.
Yeah!
Be careful when pointing that finger, or you might wind up being the one pointed at. In other words, if you point at someone, there are 3 fingers pointing back at you.
So if you use a finger, your finger might get fingered.
Yeah. No. But, So that means there's only one possible motivation for you to commit forgery. If you didn't do it for yourself, then you did it for someone else. Don't be silly, Worthy. You know me better than that. There are only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I. There, it's out in the open now.
Would be funny if there was a character named I in this case.
Uji, would you mind if I change my testimony a little?
By all means, please do.
I wouldn't be anyone's accomplice if there was nothing in it for me.
Wouldn't be anyone's accomplice. Nothing in it for you?
Sorry, but the only person I care about is yours truly. That girl, Lana's little sister, was it? If you think I felt sorry for her, you better think again. You're right, you don't feel sorry for anyone. Be tough on crime and tough on people. That's how I was raised. Oh, what a shitty upbringing. You seem to be lax enough on yourself, though. Ha ha ha! Oh, I am Santa Claus in my spare time. Oh, that's a good one, Worthy.
No, I'm the Santa Claus in my spare time.
You want to contest me?
Oh, you bring it on. I've got a bigger beard here. Could there have been something in it for him? Given his selfishness, would he have helped someone out? So the only accomplice that would
be
possibly...
Lana. Didn't he
Yep.
say it was talked about that, or Lana better said that she can't talk because someone makes her not talk. So there is a
Yeah.
person that controls her, so to speak.
Yeah, it's just sad that I don't entirely remember all this previous talk about how they were promoted and all that. True, you might not help out anyone for their sake. What was it? Were you about to say something?
I mean, I think it was maybe 2 episodes ago where that was brought up.
No, I feel like it was before that.
It was said in the game that Gant helped Lana to become chief prosecutor.
Right.
And due to her being chief prosecutor and
He would
him
have,
basically
more
the
power.
chief of police, he would have power over her.
Right. But if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone. Mr. Wright, it appears you're positively determined to portray the chief as a nice man who likes to lend people a hand. That's not what I mean. Very well then. Who is this person you believe Chief Gant may have helped forge evidence? Well... Chief Prosecutor Lana Sky, the defendant? Come on. Come on. I believe it's quite obvious in light of the circumstances. Emma Sky fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who would want to help her more than her own sister, Lana? And as for Chief Gant, he would also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. That reason, of course, is self-profit. Self-profit? What do you mean? After the SL9 incident was resolved, Lana Sky was appointed chief prosecutor at the prosecutor's office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant.
Mm-hmm. That's what they told us.
Yeah, but how would he profit from all this?
He would be able to use the chief prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations.
Do you mean to tell me that despite the chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets?
Oh, God, really? That joke must have been really great in Japan.
Oh, wait. Yeah, maybe it was some sort of cultural reference. I mean.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, you must mean puppet as in someone forced.
What was that?
Yeah, it's automated. Admit it, Chief. You assisted Lana Sky in forging evidence. Your motive to appoint her as chief prosecutor so you could control her.
White, oh my boy, you have quite an imagination. Let me ask you something.
What?
Do you have any proof of this? That I controlled Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I've done such a thing?
Lana? She's keeping quiet to protect Emma. There's no way she'd testify against Gant. I'm afraid without any proof, this all amounts to nothing more than mere conjecture.
Unless... that is also what happened in this incident.
This incident? Which one would that be?
Of course I'm talking about... the murder of Detective Bruce Goodman. The chief prosecutor has been acting strange throughout this entire trial. Almost as if someone has been controlling her. Worthy, you better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt.
Just what do you mean? What he means, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the Chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement. What? Oh, what? Order! I said order!
I'm an ogre.
Mr. Wright, you can't be serious. Huh? This is an affront to the highest ranking officer in our law enforcement agency. To accuse the chief of police of blackmail and murder? That's impossible. Your Honor, I was merely reiterating what Mr. Edgeworth said in easier to understand language. He said it, not me.
It's too late, Mr. White. There's no turning back for us now.
It looks like he's the one who's decided to go through with this. Can you prove this, Mr. Wright? That the chief, a high-ranking officer of the law, is involved with this murder? Good question. A very important one.
Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man. The question is he a criminal? I believe the evidence will tell.
I see. Alright then. Let's see what Mr. Wright's got, and it better be good. Let's see, gonna save here. For safekeeping. Show us this evidence that ties Chief Gant to the murder of Detective Goodman. That ties him specifically to Bruce Goodman.
Yeah,
Let's see.
that...
This ties him to the old case. This also ties him to the old case. This doesn't have much to do
Oh,
with
his
Bruce.
ID number!
Oh yeah,
But then again...
that is at least a possibility. Stabbed in the back.
Yeah, but we can't prove that that is his number.
It's weird that to think that we wouldn't be able to simply ask him what it is.
Yeah, it's confidential.
Of course.
It's like a
Oh, but-
doctor's.
Except it was on his safe.
Yeah, I mean, his safe combination was 7 sevens.
So that is at least something that maybe would help us tie him to that number. Blah, 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 blah. Bloody handprint. This also didn't have anything to do with Bruce Goodman.
Wait, evidence is to murder...
Can only be
Oh,
submitted
wait,
to the
what
chief
about-
of police.
What about the evidence he asked Edgeworth to get out of the safe? No, that wouldn't
Wait.
tie him to it.
Evidence from a past case.
No, that wouldn't tie him to this. What?
Yeah, it's not the same case, and there's nothing in this text that would imply that it's tied to Bruce Goodman either. So I'm guessing it's either that or possibly this one, simply because
lost item report. Or maybe?
Can only be submitted to the chief of police.
Yeah, but it wasn't completely filled out.
Oh yeah, I guess. Found at the crime scene. Parking lot, this monstrosity.
I mean, we can try the ID thingy. But unless you have a better idea.
No, let's go with it.
Oh.
This is the ID card list. Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There was one ID on the list we couldn't determine the owner of yesterday. 777.
7 sevens. Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that's my card number.
It's your number. What? How do you know that? The safe in Chief Gant's office requires a code to open. Aha, there we go. A 7-digit code. 7 digits? You don't mean? I'm afraid so, Your Honor. The code was 77777.
7 sevens. Just say 7 sevens.
Never.
Ah, damn it.
The same as the remaining ID card number on that list. Chief Gant, you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime.
Why is he not just saying, no, that's not true, that's not my safe number at all?
He's busy turning into the Hulk. Order, order! Chief Gant, what do you have to say?
Nothing. The defense's search of my office was in violation of regulations. And I will demand Mr. White be punished to the maximum extent of the law. But right now, this court demands an explanation from you about the use of this ID card.
Chief Gant, so you admit it? You entered the evidence room on the day of the crime?
What about it? I'm chief of police. Whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom. What's the difference? I can go anywhere I want. Tell me. When you entered the room, were you alone? I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room.
Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you that day, would he?
Oh, of course not! Why would he be? I hadn't seen him in days!
You hadn't seen him in days, Chief Gant? I'm afraid you've just undone yourself. On that day, you had to have met with Detective Goodman. What do you mean? The ceremony, I guess?
No, the transferal of the SL9 incident.
Yes, that too. This trial's purpose is to determine Lana Sky's guilt.
No, it isn't, Your Honor. This trial's purpose is to determine the truth. If Chief Gant met the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine one thing. What transpired during that meeting?
In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm going to have to ask you for evidence. Show us proof that the victim went to meet Chief Gant on the day of the crime. Let's see.
It's on the note. Is the date and the... Oh, maybe? No. What is it? Maybe it is the note? I'm not sure.
No, there's...
221 SL9. It has the date and it has SL9 on it. But...
Yes, it's not decisive evidence, though, I would say. Went to meet Gant on the day of the crime.
Oh, right! You were right with this lost and found thing. He didn't have his ID card, so he had to ask the chief to help him get in there.
That would make sense. Let's see. Just gonna make sure there's nothing I'm missing.
The other evidence that would help is that proves that the SL9 had to be transferred on that day.
What was that evidence now?
Yeah, I don't know if that kind of evidence is actually here.
No, I don't believe so. Death due to loss. So... yeah, it's got to be this one, right? Detective Goodman lost his ID card on the day of the crime.
Or to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it.
So, Detective Goodman filled out the lost item report. He would have had to give that report to the Chief of Police.
Yet you are in possession of the report. Which means you can't be sure if he filed it.
He filed it. How do I know, you ask? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day. He needed to? Yes, to transfer the evidence out. Oh. Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room.
I accompanied him?
There's no other way that murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered the room.
Hold on, let me guess what you're going to say next. This is a JoJo reference.
Yes.
I, the Chief of Police, murdered poor Goodman.
I, the Chief of Police, murdered poor Goodman. Ha! No, wait, that's not right. Exactly. But wait! The Chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him his ID card.
Yes, I am. Now that you mention it, I believe. Sorry, but that's not possible.
It's not possible for you to believe.
According to the record, your card was only used once. Yet, you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body. No!
Oh my. Chief Gant, you didn't. The murder was most likely a spur-of-the-moment crime, for no one in their right mind would choose the police department as a place to commit murder. After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body, of course.
You're forgetting, Mr. White, that the victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office parking lot. How did he manage to move it there? I was at the police department the entire day, you know. And everyone's aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony.
Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're the police, the chief of police. You have an entire police force at your disposal.
Oh, so you think I just ordered an officer to do it? Hey you, take this here dead body over to the prosecutor's office. I don't think so.
Chief Gant, you left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved the body to the prosecutor's office. And all this time I thought it was a useless clue that just taking up space. How could the chief have moved the body? How does he move that body on the dance floor? Mr. Wright, show us this evidence. To move the victim's body, Chief Gant used this. Okay. He used... Could it have...
useless item? Oh!
Da-da-da-dun!
I know what
This
it
one...
is.
This
What?
guy is on wheels?
What? No!
Really?
How would he move an entire body with this bloody thing?
Hey, hold on. No, I guess it wouldn't fit on that little plank thing.
You serious right now?
I mean, it is an almost worthless piece of evidence. Let's see. Screwdriver?
Evidence from past case brought back to his office by Gant's request.
But let's see, I'm trying to figure out what the logic of that is, though.
He told him on the day of the murder to bring this thing, to take this thing to the prosecutor's office.
Yes.
And he would need to use his car to bring it to the prosecutor's office.
Oh, I was under the impression that the body was smuggled into Edgeworth's car so that Edgeworth would bring it.
By Gant put the body in the car, and then
By
he told
screwing-
Edgeworth to put it to go to the prosecutor's office with this evidence.
And this evidence was supposedly used to open up the trunk, possibly?
No, that thing was just used as a reason for Edgeworth to drive his car to the office so that Lana could dispose of the body.
Okay, I totally forgot that this was delivered in that. I thought it was delivered way later.
No, it was on the same day.
Well then, let's try it. This is how he moved Detective Goodman's body.
Was that a screwdriver? But what does that have to do with this case?
Mr. Edgeworth, think back to the day of the crime. What is this screwdriver doing here?
It's here because... Ah! I was asked to go by Chief Gant, no less. He told me he wanted me to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. After the ceremony ended that day, I didn't plan to return to the prosecutor's office.
But you did, because Chief Gant asked you to.
You mean I...
The body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car.
Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car.
Yes. Unless, of course, you have another explanation, Chief. Why else would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to transport evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation. To transport the body to your accomplice, Miss Lana Skye.
Order, order, order! What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal to the defense's outrageous accusations?
Think back to the photograph Miss Starr took at the prosecutor's office. This was not a photo of the body being stuffed in the trunk to be taken away. It was exactly the opposite.
It is a photo of the body being taken from the trunk.
Chief Gant, please say something.
I believe... your time's up. For this episode, that is.
Oh, you dare!
Yep, we have to leave this episode here. I hope you enjoyed it up until this point, and we will see you for the conclusion next time, because we are so much over time today. But I always try to find a good point like this.
All good.
So yeah, stay tuned for more.
Take care, like and subscribe, and leave comments and spread the word about this playthrough.